der Kraft zwischen dem ersten und zweiten Schornstein. Als die Detonation vorüber war, die
It hit
Torpedodetonation, das war
between
so
the
ein
first
kleiner
and the
Klack.
second thump. When the detonation was over, the torpedo detonation was only a small explosion, but the second detonation had a monstrous effect. The light switches flew out of our boat, she started to rock heavily and to roll.
I was packing when the first torpedo struck. And of course, that was a tremendous blow on the boat. It vibrated the whole boat, you know. And some people felt that there were two, and I really do think there were two torpedoes.
The ship started to shake and shudder. So I picked up my baby and I started to go upstairs. But the stewards came out and told me that not to be in any hurry, there was lots of time. So I went and sat at the table. The ship gave another lurch and everything was thrown all over the place. We were thrown over off our chairs and onto the floor.
It seemed as if the whole dining room, all the china came in on top of us. That's the feeling. And then the stewards rushed to close the windows, the portholes, you know. I went over to one of the stewards and I had the baby. You know, a lot of explosions going on. And I said to him, tell me what to do, and whatever you tell me, I'll do it. And he said, get upstairs. Get upstairs as quick as you can. Oh, it was a terrible big day. Everyone was just beating everybody.
Mrs. Lassiter and her son happened to have a cabin opposite mine. I went down to get my lifebelt and I thought I'd see if they were there, and I knocked at their door and there was no reply, and I went opposite to turn my light on and found everything was the most awful mess, and I went to the shelf to feel my way to where my lifebelt was, and it wasn't there. Somebody in a very short space of time must have gone into my cabin and taken it out, because it had been there the whole trip through. I then left my cabin and I rushed down the corridor, though by that time there was such a list to starboard that 1 foot was on the wall and 1 foot was on the floor. And at the end, when I made my way to the center part of the ship, there was a steward handing out lifebelts. And he handed me one, and I took it and put it on. And I started to climb up the main staircase. By that time, the ship had got to such terrific list to starboard that I tripped, and I fell down a whole flight of very broad stairs at the foot of a very attractive-looking woman and her daughter. And in sort of excitement and confusion, I said to her, is there anything I can do to help you? And she said, no, nothing at all, thank you. We're not going to get alarmed. The captain says the ship can't sink, and we're quite safe. No, thank you, there's nothing you can do.
Mr. Taylor had gone upstairs and he came down and he come into the cabin. He says, well, we're hit. And I says, hit? And he says, yeah. He says, we're torpedoed. And I didn't think of anything. He just got hold of me and we set out, you know, without, well, I had a coat, a seal coat, which I just threw on my shoulders, no shoes or anything.
Just had lunch and was sitting down playing solitaire in the lounge when the ship was hit. I went out onto the back deck and you could see the wake of the torpedo.
We were on the high side of the boat, which was the port side, which was not the side we should have gone to try to get off in a boat. But by that time, the boat had listed so much that we did try to get into this boat. But unfortunately, the thing that happened was that the ropes went through at the one end of the davit, and at the other end it hung there. So we fell down the side of the ship, and as we were going down, the boat released itself and came down to
me and another bunch of fellas, we were playing poker in the saloon and having a few drinks of whiskey, and we heard a shot, and somebody says the ship is sunk, but we were so interested in our game till we couldn't quit. So we played for about 10 minutes after the ship was hit.
Der Kommandant noch gesehen, durchgeschaut hatte, da sagte er, das ist die Lusitania, die jetzt versenkt wird. Und wer noch einmal durchschauen will, der kann sich das ansehen noch. Und da wurden beide Seerohre ausgefahren.
The commander looked through and he said, "That is the Lusitania being sunk now, and who wants to look through can have a look at it." And then both periscopes were extended, and the periscope in the center, and everyone could look through to look at the spectacle. It was a horrible spectacle, one must say. Men, women and children were running wildly on deck, boats were lowered incompetently, capsizing halfway from the boat deck and then hitting the water.
Well, I thought I'd better go down and get my life preserver, which I did, which was taking a chance. I'd have been trapped down there, but I came up with the life preserver. And then on the way up, it struck me that it wouldn't be a very good thing to be saved, that this fellow on the Titanic had got into all sorts of trouble. There was a girl there with a little boy, and I gave the girl the life preserver.
Just before I started my tedious journey up there again, I happened to look and I saw the lift had stuck halfway. It was one of those open lifts with a grill, and it had stuck between the floors, and there were people inside, obviously going down to lunch, or perhaps coming up from lunch, and they were trying to open the gates, which of course they couldn't do. And so obviously those poor wretched people must have been drowned like rats in a trap. No, the usual cry, let the women and children in first. There were no children curious enough, but there were women. And Lassiter and I helped his mother into it. The boat was almost filled when the captain appeared on the bridge for the first time. And his exact words were, "Don't lower the boats, don't lower the boats, the ship is all right, she can't sink." And then he said in an appealing way, "Will the gentleman kindly assist me in getting the women and children out of the boats and off the upper deck?" Lassiter and I helped his mother out, and we helped all the other women out. When the boat was empty, I happened to look right down the boat deck, and I saw that the bow of the ship was just beginning to submerge. The water had come right up to the depth level of the bow. And I said to Lassiter and his mother, I said, "This ship is going to sink. The only thing to do is to jump."
Catley come along, this is my partner, and told me you better go down and put your life belt on. This ship, he says, could go down. And so I said, all right, and I went down into my room to get my life belt, and when I come back up to the saloon where we were sitting, there was nobody there but the bartender. And the ship was leaning so bad at the time until you couldn't hardly stand up. And I remember that didn't have no cash registers, and that ship, the drawer where they put in the money, that fell out. And I walked right over the money, but I didn't have time to pick any of it up.